everyone, and welcome to Shell Point Today for Tuesday, September 22nd. I'm Dan Philgreen. Coming up on today's show, Anna Marie Tesoriero of Sundial tells us all about her trip to Italy this year, and Gary Keating talks with Mary Moore about the upcoming golf tournament to benefit the memory care unit at the Larson Pavilion. But first, we'd like to remind you that tomorrow you can get smart with IRA planning strategies when the Legacy Foundation and the Academy of Lifelong Learning present a special seminar. It's time to structure your IRA to optimal advantage as you learn the latest strategies to maximize benefits and minimize taxes. The seminar begins at 10 a.m. in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. There's nothing like a little English tea with a southern flair, and the Wisteria Tea Room, located in an adorable early 1900s bungalow in Fort Myers, is the perfect spot. For a spot of tea, that is. This Thursday, you can visit the tea room for a charming and oh-so-tasty afternoon of finger sandwiches, scones, and delectable sweets, and of course, various teas. The cost of the outing is $33, and this includes tea, food, and the tip. Court pickups begin at 12:30 on the island, so make sure you've signed up. Anna Marie Tesoriero of Sundial decided to research her family history back to Italy. After tireless efforts by a relative who found the church where Anna's grandparents were married and baptized, she and several of her family made the journey to Italy to discover their heritage firsthand. It was a delightful trip, and she was happy to share pictures with us, along with fond memories. Here's Rich Nation as he sits down with Anna Marie and one of her scrapbooks.
Hi, well, I'm here today with Anna Marie Tesoriero, and she recently took a very interesting trip across the waters over to Italy. And I heard that she had some great pictures and that she did some research in her family roots. And so we invited her to come on the program and talk to us about it. Anna, it's been great looking at what you've shown me so far, and I just can't wait to hear more about it. So tell us from the beginning, how did this trip come about?
It came about because we got interested in the genealogy of our family. One of my cousins, and I have many, was in the Army, and he did the research of the immigration, the boats, the ships, and from there, someone said, you know, we really should hire a genealogist in Italy. And we'll all chip in money. So we got an email, will you chip in? We sent it to my cousin's husband, who goes back and forth to Italy on business. The two of them went, Marianne and Sal went, met the genealogist, were pleased with him, and lo and behold, by February, he found out where my grandparents were baptized and married and everything else in a town of Dugenta, Italy, that we were not aware of. So by May 1st, I'm in Benevento province. I'm in Rome. I was a little lost, but I got to the place where we were staying.
So it sounds like quite a big group of you guys all went over there, and you were telling me some of the people from up New York
Yes.
were actually from here.
Yes, Fort Myers. So we met, you know, and it was very thrilling to meet Mike and Michelle, and now we're in contact with each other, and they're friends with my cousins. So we all built up a friendship.
Well, I'm anxious to see some of these pictures, Anna Marie. It sounds like you learned a lot about your heritage and your family, so show us some of this. And
Okay, this is a work in progress. It's a scrap memory book, just not a scrapbook.
Now, people who don't know you don't know how many of these scrapbooks you have. This is something that you get quite involved in, not just on the trips to Italy, but
No,
you've done
on a previous trip.
Right.
I guess I must have 5 or more.
Okay.
3 if you come in my house, they're out, and some hidden somewhere.
And being involved with the scrapbooking
That's how I got
class
involved.
here at Shell Point.
Yes. And this was really the highlight, the church where my grandparents were married.
Oh.
In 1907.
1907.
And immediately they came to America. And on the old, you can't see it in the picture, there's a banner. 1870 to 1907 was the big immigration out of Italy because of the poverty and the lack of food and the lack of jobs. So my grandfather left with my grandmother. He had a trade. He was educated. He could play a musical instrument. But he found work in America because he went before time. So he was there before 1907. This is where three of us, and this is a friend, we were standing to light a candle.
Oh, that's beautiful.
This is the outside of the church, San Nicholas. And it is probably the St. Nicholas that's the Santa Claus, St. Nicholas.
Really?
Yes, yes. And the place where we stayed is beautiful. And this is one of the best parts of the morning when you went for breakfast. And we visited, this place is in a replica of the one in France, the big castle in France, where Louis XIV was, and the others. And this is Salerno, which was really my favorite place because the battle in the Second World War took place here. It really made a thrill to go through Salerno. And I also love seeing in the museum there the Christmas cribs, because when my grandmother had a Christmas tree and the manger, it looked like Tuscan people. It looked like the farmers in Italy. And that you'll see that if you look up close in the museum. And then we visited, not Pompeii, but the other place, that Herculaneum, that was destroyed by the eruption of the volcano. And that was interesting because they did the excavation. They found it the end of the 19th century. They built it up all during the 20th century. Another highlight was to a cooking school. And that was fascinating because the owner worked with Mario Batali, the great chef in America. He worked in New York. So the view from there is spectacular. We made pasta. He took the flour, we took the water. This, I never knew what a pork belly was. Now I know. It's quite a gourmet treat. This is the cheese, and these are the hams. And the last night, we went to a big party in the hotel. One side were the NATO forces. They were having a party. The other side was really, well, my cousins and my cousins' cousins. And we had a great time meeting them. And it was, we found out that my cousin sings, but they didn't want Italian songs. They wanted Frank Sinatra songs. So he sang Frank Sinatra songs, and we were doing New York, New York, and the NATO people were getting involved, and the people were coming up to the mic.
Well, sounds like you had a fascinating trip. And
yes.
Anna Marie, thank you so much for coming and sharing your pictures with us, and I bet you can't wait to go back again.
Oh, I do. My cousins are going back in December. Very tempted to go. To learn to go to Italian classes there, so they'll do even better when they guide us when they go. But everybody who brought us any place spoke English.
Oh, that's great.
You know,
that's great.
And we did understand the Italian. I loved seeing the school children go visit all the famous places, too, with us. It was May, and they were all going on field trips.
Right.
So
it was a good time of year for that.
They were good.
Well, thank you, Anna Marie, so much for sharing this with us.
All the time I'll share it.
It's time for the 12th annual Shell Point Charity Golf Tournament. Friday, November 13th is the time for fun and funds dedicated to support the memory care unit at the Larson Pavilion. It's not too early to register, and there will be some fantastic hole-in-one prizes as well as a silent auction. To tell us more about it, Mary Moore of the Legacy Foundation was able to track down Gary Keating doing what he does best out at the driving range.
Hi, I'm Mary Moore with the Legacy Foundation at Shell Point, and I'm here today to talk about the 2015 Shell Point Open that's on November 13th. I'm here with Gary Keating, the golf club manager. How you doing, Gary?
Good morning. Friday the 13th, it's an unlucky day for some people, but we've got many hole-in-one prizes, including a BMW for a hole-in-one.
Yeah,
So
that's exciting.
I think it could be a lucky day for some people rather than being unlucky. The changes we've made to the golf course here at Shell Point is it's going to be nice. We've got some very cosmetic changes out there, new bunkers. The greens will be in perfect shape as always. We've got some new carpets coming out here, and we're looking for a fun-filled time at Shell Point.
Yeah, we've had a lot of changes this year. I remember I was here for the very first Shell Point Open 12 years ago. I can't believe it's been 12 years since we've had this. This year, the Shell Point Open is going to benefit memory care at the pavilion, specifically furniture in all the memory care areas, and we're excited about that. We have a lot of changes this year to the golf tournament that I think are exciting changes. We're going to have two co-title sponsors this year, Fine Mark Bank and Wright Construction Group. We're also going to add a silent auction this year. That'll be a lot of fun. And we have a lot of corporate and gold and silver hole sponsors already. This year we have a newscaster, Krista Fogelsong, to be announcing the prizes this year. We have a lot of hole-in-one prizes. Gary, can you tell us a little bit about those?
We've actually got two hole-in-one prizes I'd like to have myself. Number one's a BMW motorcycle and a golf cart, I know. And there's also a cruise there, some golf clubs, tailor-made irons and stuff like that. So there's actually a couple of prizes I'd like to win myself.
Yeah, how about that jet ski?
So, the jet ski?
Yeah.
So if you see me leaving the pro shop that afternoon playing golf, you know where I'm at.
Hopefully there'll be a picture on the golf tournament flyer that they'll be getting in their mailboxes in October. If they have any questions, they can call the Legacy Foundation at 466-8484 and ask for Mary, or you can call the golf club at 433-9790 and ask for Gary. So make sure you mark your calendar for Friday, November 13th. As Gary said, Friday the 13th is going to be a lucky day for someone to come to our golf tournament and try to win some of those exciting prizes, and most of all, to benefit memory care at the Larson Pavilion.
So come on out.
We'll see you there.
And now let's take a look at today's happenings, Academy News, menus, and Village Church Connections.
Hello and welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Bev Chandley and this is Caitlin Van Scoy, and we're going to go over the activities that we offer for you here today at Shell Point. We're going to start bright and early with 7:15, Bend, Breathe, and Balance. That's in the Health Club on the island. And at 8 o'clock, the pickleball course will be busy with pickleball. And at 8 o'clock, we have round robin doubles tennis at the Woodlands tennis courts. The stamp ministry will be in the stamp room at 8:15. And at 8:30, it's time to ride the tide at beach day. Court pickups begin on the island at 8:30, 8:40 for Woodlands, and 8:50 for Eagles Preserve and Estuary. You do need to sign up for beach day. We have the Ladies Golf Association meeting at the golf club at 8:30. And we have a 9:15 open painting session down in the art studio in the tunnel. Shuffleboard will be played at 9:15. And we have match play mixed doubles tennis at 9:30 at the Woodlands tennis courts. We have a 10 o'clock informational talk today on Echo. That'll be in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands. At 10 o'clock, the Susie Q goes for a picnic at Bowditch Beach. Sign up is required. Through the Bible study group will be in the Osprey Room at 10:15. And at 10:45, we have a Health Connections class, Chest Pain. When should I worry? That's in the Social Center. Sign up is required for that. And we have LifeQuest Living Healthy in the Osprey Room at 11:45. That's the last morning activity. And here's Caitlin for the afternoon lineup.
Thank you, Bev. Wanted to let you know that the Blood Mobile will be here from 12:30 to 6 o'clock at the Village Church. So if you want to give your blood and donate, go down to the Village Church. Also at 12:30, we have Mixed Progressive Bridge in the game room of the Woodlands. And then we move to 12:45 for a Health Connections class, Fitness Room Orientation. That'll be in the Health Club, and you do need to sign up. The Knitters group will be in the Osprey Room at 1:15. And then also at 1:15, the Rollicking Recorderists will be playing their instruments in the Tarpon Room down in the Island Tunnel. And then our last 1:15 activity is the Women's Ministries Prayer Group. They'll be in the Hospitality Room of the Village Church. At 1:30, we have a Health Connections class, Aqua Pilates. That'll be at the LifeQuest Aquatic Center. The Stamp Ministry will be in the Sable Room at the Woodlands at 1:30. Then we have a library book talk at 2:15 at the Social Center. At 2:45, we have a Health Connections class, Balance and Mobility Training Level 2 in the Health Club, and that wraps up our day. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Terry Koleth. I'd like to share with you some new classes we have coming tomorrow on Wednesday. We have a Legacy Foundation Seminar, Smart IRA Planning and Withdrawal Strategies. We also will begin Intermediate Bridge. And since it's Tuesday, I'd like to take a moment to just remind everyone to look at the back page of the weekly reminder for our Pavilion Auxiliary orientation information. If it's time for you to sign up for your annual orientation, please consider the September opportunity. And if you're interested in joining us in the auxiliary to serve on one of our 16 committees, it's very satisfying volunteer work, and I'd be happy to talk with you about what we have available.
Menus for Tuesday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is meatloaf served with mashed potatoes and mixed vegetables. The soup of the day is cream of mushroom. In the Island Cafe for lunch, the special is a grilled Hawaiian chicken with sweet potato fries for $7.75. The dinner special is grilled chicken over fresh greens with berries and feta for $8.75. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Hi, Randy Woods. I serve as the Minister of Worship and Music here at the Village Church. I've heard it said that you can judge a painting not by the amount of paint on the canvas, but by how much white is left unpainted on the canvas. Same thing is true with music. It's not how many notes and rhythms that are played, but where there's a quiet space, a rest in the music that helps to define beginning and end, times of transitions, and expression of emotion. Well, the quiet time is important to us, even in the busyness of life. David writes in Psalm 46, verse 10, that we should be still and know that I am God. A quiet time is simply being intentional about having a personal conversation with God. This usually means listening for God's voice by reading the Bible, singing, reading a hymn, or meditating on biblical devotional readings, or perhaps speaking to God through prayer. Jesus himself did this numerous times. In the Gospels, we read that Jesus sometimes slipped away all night or early in the morning to spend time with his Father. Martin Luther gave a description of this kind of prayerful conversation when his barber asked him, "How do you pray?" Well, Luther explained, "A good barber must have his thoughts, mind, and eyes concentrated upon the razor and the beard, and not forget where he is in his stroke and shave. If he keeps talking or thinking of something else, he is likely to cut a man's mouth or nose, or even his throat. So anything that is to be done well ought to occupy the whole man. How much more must prayer possess the heart exclusively and completely, if it indeed is going to be a good prayer?" For most people, there are two distinct challenges involved with making a quiet time. The first challenge is actually finding time. I never would have thought that life in a retirement community would be so busy. Here at Shell Point, which is not that much unlike my hometown or yours, life is full of opportunities to do things such as academy classes, concerts, golf, tennis, exercise classes, medical appointments, visiting family and friends, social gatherings, lunch, dinner, church services, rehearsals, and the list goes on and on. But still, it's important to set aside a quiet time, a rest in the music of life. Whether early in the morning or some solitude during the day or the evening, just making time to quiet your heart and mind and draw near to the heart of God. The second challenge of a quiet time is often fighting the wandering thoughts. Martin Luther also instructed his barber not to pray too long. A good prayer need not be long or drawn out, he says, but rather it should be frequent and from the heart. Luther suggested that quiet times should be a two-way conversation. So as you read the scripture, you can listen. Listen to God as he speaks his comfort and instruction to you. But God also wants to hear your expressions of praise and the concerns of your heart as you speak to Him. The principle of a quiet time is consistent with Jesus' instructions as He responded to the disciples' request to teach them to pray. Jesus called their attention to self-important people who made a show of praying amid the hurried pace of the marketplace. He counseled a much quieter approach to find the most satisfying time with God in prayer. In the Gospel, Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6, Jesus instructed the disciples, "Here's what I want you to do," He says. "Find a quiet, secluded place so you won't be tempted to role play before God. Just be there as simply and honestly as you can manage. The focus will shift from you to God, and you will begin to sense His grace." Jesus did not give a specific description of any location of the quiet place, nor the time to go there. His emphasis was on seeking personal and intimate sharing with God. We know from our human relationships that such intimacy usually requires secluded time with the one we love. But the place doesn't really matter. Having a designated getaway place can be helpful, but more importantly, allocating the time to share is the critical element. Really, how much you spend in your quiet time is really up to you. There are no real rules. What matters is that you make a quiet time to stop and listen. Listen to the Lord and tell God the concerns on your heart. I know God wants to hear from you, so stop and make a quiet time, and the music of your life will be much better with a little rest in that rhythmic melody of activity. And the quiet times painted on the canvas of your life will make your achievements and accomplishments that much more beautiful. I like the words of the song written by Ralph Carmichael. It says, "There is a quiet place, far from the rapid pace, where God can soothe my troubled mind. Sheltered by tree and flower, there in my quiet hour, with Him my cares are left behind. Whether a garden small or on a mountain tall, new strength and courage there I find. Then from this quiet place I go prepared to face a new day with love for all mankind." I trust you'll find that quiet place again today.
Well, that wraps it up for today's program. Join us tomorrow when we'll talk about the mysteries of routine dentistry. And resident Elmer Taylor tells us why he should have been born a bird. We'll find out more about that tomorrow. Until then, this has been Shell Point Today for Tuesday, September 22nd. I'm Dan Philgreen, and on behalf of the entire SPTV staff, we hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.